Hello there and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can take a picture of yourself and convert it into an animated character just like the one you're seeing right now using Photoshop and Adobe Character Animate CC. This is coming as a request from my previous video where a number of you wanted to know how I created that character which looked like me. Now, there are two general ways I know of that you can do this using Character Animate CC. The first is using the inbuilt characterizer tool, which is quite easy, but it won't get you as good as an effect like the one that you saw in that video. I'm going to cover that in another tutorial. And the second way, which was how my character was made, was to use the pen tool either in Photoshop or Illustrator to carve around different parts of a photo until eventually you create a vector file that looks like that picture. From my experience, this takes some time to do, and then you also have to master how to use the pen tool. And in my opinion, I think you need some kind of artistic side of yourself to actually get that vector file to look just like you. But don't worry, because we are going to be getting rid of this complex pen tool looking guy. I have a little trick for you that I feel almost anyone can follow along to create a cartoon version of yourself. And then we're going to go ahead and create a puppet out of that. And the tutorial starts right now. All right. So the very first thing we want to do is take some pictures, obviously. And there are numerous amount of pictures you can take depending on how expressive you want your character to be. But for the bare minimum, we're going to need at least 2 pictures. One with yourself doing a neutral expression, and then another one with your eyes closed. We're going to be using this to do the blinking of the eyes. But besides this, you can do a whole lot more different kinds of pictures, like for example, a thumbs up, thumbs down, smiling, sad face. And if you wanted to use your actual mouth to do the mouth movement, you have to do different lips position. And I'm going to be talking about some of these as we go along in the video. But for this tutorial, we're going to keep it simple with just those 2 minimum pictures. So a neutral face and one with the eyes closed. So once we have that taken, you want to go ahead and Photoshop and click on open, and then look for wherever you've stored your picture and open it. So that opens the picture in Photoshop. So we're going to take out the background, and to do that, you just click on the object selection tool right here on Photoshop. So you want to go ahead and just click and drag around your image. So Photoshop is going to be using machine learning and artificial intelligence to automatically locate your picture from the background. Sometimes it misses out some piece of this, and you can fix that by subtracting it. For example, if it's selected too much, like it did in the hand here, by just holding Option or Alt, depending on if you're Mac on Windows, and then just click and drag around the area which it didn't select so well, and that will subtract from it. And in case it missed some areas, you can then hold Shift on your keyboard and just do the same thing around the area where it missed that, and it will go ahead and fix that. Once you have that done, you want to click on the little mask icon right here, and that should automatically separate your background from your image. So the very next thing we're going to need to do now is actually apply the cartoon effect to that picture so that it looks more like a cartoon. And that is going to be one of the easiest things you're going to need to do, because if you look down in the description of this video, I have a gift for you, which is a Photoshop action that is going to do that for you automatically. In case you're wondering what a Photoshop action is, it just lets you record actions that you're doing within Photoshop, whatever it is, and then you can play this back later in case you don't want to keep repeating the same action over and over again. And in my case, it allows me to share that with you so that you can just play that, and it repeats the step that I took to create the cartoon effect. So if you want to head down to the description of this video right below and click on that link that says Photoshop Pop Art Action, and then download that. And once you have that downloaded, you can come back to the video, and I'm going to show you how to load it up onto Photoshop and to use it to create your cartoon effect. So once you have that downloaded, you want to click on the actions, the little play button on Photoshop. And if you cannot see that, you just go to Windows and click on Action, and that should open that. So once you're there, you want to click on the little menu icon to the corner here, and then click on Load Action. Now go to wherever you downloaded that and just click on Open. That should automatically open something called EC Pop Art. So that is the action that I've saved. So the next thing we want to do is just rename the layer to say layer 1. That's because when I recorded this, the layer that I did that on was named layer 1. So once you've done that, just click on the EC Pop Art effect and just hit the play button. And that's going to do a number of things. and by the end of that you should have this cartoon looking like image. So depending on the tone of your skin, this might work right away without you having to do anything to it. I noticed that on darker skin tones it kind of struggles a little bit and would have to clean it up a little bit. But if you're of a lighter skin tone, you might be able to apply this one time and it just looks okay. So let's just go ahead and let me explain a few things that are going on here. So if you look down to the layers, you will notice two layers, one called line art and the bottom one called color. So these are layers with smart objects. So the very first one called line art is simply kind of tracing around your picture. So it almost looks like you're using a pencil to trace an outline around your picture to give it that cartoonish effect. And the one at the bottom is creating a watercolor kind of effect on your picture. So that you've used a watercolor brush to paint around that. And if you merge both of them, it gives you this pop art cartoonish effect that you're seeing right here. And in case there might be any issues with it, maybe it's not looking right, just edit any of the parameters that you see right here at the bottom. Just double click on those and play around with them until it looks good to you. So if you notice for mine, we have a little bit of things that look like dots around my face. That's because of the skin tone. So we're gonna clean that up. It's quite easy. There's several ways to do that. So what you want to do for that is just click on the top layer that says line art and then click right here on the erase tool. And then you just want to start clicking. It's going to ask you to rasterize this layer. You can say yes. This just means that you can no longer edit the settings of the layer. I'm just going to go ahead and just use the erase tool to just wipe around everywhere that we have these little edges. So the next thing I want to do is fix some of the uneven skin tones that you can see in the skin. And that's quite easy to do. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and select the eyedrop tool. And we use this to select just some part of the skin tone's color that we want to use. And once I've done that, I'm going to go and use the paint bucket tool. And then I'm just going to click on any patches that I want to fix. For the first time, it's going to ask to rasterize this layer. And I'm just going to say yes. And then I'll just go ahead and click on all the patches of the face that has some hot spots so that it's a little bit even. While I'm at that, I'm also going to fix the jacket. Seems like it didn't pick some of the blue. So I'll just pick that blue color and then use the paint bucket tool to just fix that. And there you go. All right, there we have a pretty good looking cartoon character. The next thing we want to do now is convert this into a puppet. And a little tip for you, if you actually don't want your character to look like a cartoon, you could actually just take the picture and move to this next step. So let's say, for example, you wanted to do a puppet of a celebrity's face with your voice talking. You would take their picture and move to this next step without converting them to a cartoon if you don't want it to look cartoonish. That's a little tip for you there. So now let's head over to Character Animate and begin to convert that picture into a puppet. So once in Character Animate, we want to open back our welcome screen, and you can do that by clicking on Window and clicking Welcome. So that opens up this welcome screen, and what you want to do is click on See More, which takes you to Adobe's Puppet repository, and we want to download the blank puppet. We're going to be replacing it with our own image. Once downloaded, you're going to see two versions of the puppet. You want to open the Photoshop version of it. So once you open this puppet on Character Animate and enable your camera, you should be able to control it with your head, your eyes, and you can use the mouse to control the hands just like you would. We're going to be editing this to replace it with our puppet. To do this, you want to go to blank and click on, right click and do Edit Original. This would open this up on Photoshop. So when you notice to the right here, there are a bunch of layers and bunch of groups. These are named very, very specifically so that it can work with Character Animate, and you have to use some certain naming convention, which is why it's always advisable to use a template to do this. We're going to be replacing each of these with our own image, and I'm going to walk you through that right now. Okay. So the very first thing we're going to be working on is the face, and we're going to be spending about probably 80% of our time on here because this is where most of the work is. So what I want you to do is go back to that image which we created a cartoon of, and then I want you to use the object selection tool. Remember that tool, and then roughly just select around the head. It doesn't have to be too accurate, and then you just want to cut that by hitting Ctrl X or Command X on your keyboard. And then next we want to go to our puppet, and click on the group that says face, and I just want you to just paste that on there and then adjust that. That looks a little bit freaky, but don't worry, we're gonna be replacing the eyes too and fixing everything as we go along. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and turn off the eye layers. So just click on the little icon that looks like an eye. I'll turn off the right eye and the left eye so we can start working on our eyes. So if I zoom in here, I want you to go ahead and click on what is called the laser tool. And then around your eye, make sure that your face layer is selected. Just follow around the edges of the eye, just roughly. Doesn't have to be too accurate. And once you've done that, hit the delete key on the keyboard to delete that. And then go ahead and do the same thing for your left eyes. Just follow that roughly around the edges and hit the delete key to remove that. So once you're done with that, you want to select the object selection tool and just roughly select around the eyes to select the lid. And the reason why we're doing this is that we're going to use the lid to cover the pupils, so that once you're moving your pupils around, it doesn't come up out of your face. And I'll show you that in a second. So once I'm done with that, I'm just going to go back to this and paste it in here, Ctrl V, and then move it to fit back in place wherever it's supposed to fit. Now there might be a little bit of the rough space that doesn't fit properly, but don't worry, we'll fix that in a second. You can use the eyedrop tool to select your skin tone and then select the brush tool. I will just quickly just change the size of that and then go to the lid group, delete where it says replace, and I'll create a new layer at the bottom and rename that to lid fill, because we're going to use this layer to fill the bottom of the lid. And then using the brush tool, just draw around the areas that still have a little bit of white. We're going to just paint all around that and also paint around the top. Again, we're doing all of this to make sure that the pupil doesn't go out of the eyes. All right, this is looking pretty good so far. Next, we're going to work on the pupil. And for that, I just need to go back to that image that we made, a cartoon, and we're going to cut out the pupil. If you want, for this, you can actually take a picture of your eyes wide open so you can get your pupils properly. So what I will need you to do is just go to that and use the object selection tool. And we want to just select around the eyes, just roughly again, and it's going to cut and pick that. And then we're going to go back to our puppet. Once we're there, we're going to look for a folder that says right pupil. So once we have that, we're going to do Ctrl V to paste in there and align that to have our pupil. And for the left pupil, I'm just going to also go back to the folder that says left pupil and paste it right in there and align it properly. That is looking pretty good so far. So next we're gonna work on the lid, the left lid. Remember, we didn't do that. So for that, I'm gonna click on the face layer. Actually, let me rename this to face because it just says layer 1. And using again the object selection tool like we did last time, I'm just gonna select roughly around the eyes for it to select that. And then we're gonna go back to the lid and just paste that on there and align it properly. And then now we're going to just use again the fill like we did for the right eyes. I use the brush tool to fill that up so that it protects the pupil and you don't see your pupil popping out, because that will look very weird. All right, so we're making some good progress here. Next, we're going to work on the eyeball. And in this software, the eyeball plays an important role because it acts as a boundary for your pupil. So if you have an eyeball, even if it's not visible, an eyeball that is bigger than your eyes, you're going to have your pupil going all over the place. So you want to make sure that you keep the eyeball as close as possible to the eyes. And I'm going to be showing you how to do that in a second. So we're going to be using the pen tool to do this. And to do that, you just want to go ahead and click on the pen tool. And once you've done that, you also want to click on the foreground and change the foreground color to white, because eyeballs are actually white. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the right here and just select the layer that says right eyeballs. And then I'm going to come back and just draw a shape around my eyes. It doesn't have to be perfect, just something close to the eyes. Just draw it a little bit around. Then I'm going to change that to a shape so that gives us a solid color. So we're going to repeat the exact same thing for the left eyeball. And that is what we look like so far. So why don't we do Ctrl Save to save this and head over to Character Animate to see what this looks like. So as you can see now, when I move my eyeballs, my pupil, sorry, to the left and right, it's moving with the character. I don't know about you, but we're making good progress and this makes me feel good. So let's go ahead and finish up the rest of the face. So next we're going to work on our eyebrows. We're going to make them movable. To do this, you just want to make sure you're on the face layer, make sure it's selected, and then you're going to use the object tool to select around the eyebrows and cut that with Ctrl X. Once you've done that, go to the layer that says right eyebrows right here. We can delete the layer that says replace, and then we just paste that in here and rename it to right eyebrows. Alright, so once that is done, we can just align that to fit where it's supposed to be in. And then because the eyebrows are going to be moving back and forth, we want to make sure that once it moves, you don't see that white spot below it. So we're going to fill that up using the brush tool. So select your face layer and just use the brush tool like we've done before to paint around that. In fact, I'm going to turn that eyebrow layer off just to make sure I've gotten all the other white spots that are below it. So we're going to repeat the same process for the left one and save that, and it's going to reflect on Character Animate. So let's see what that looks like now. So as you can see, if I move my eyebrows, it's moving accordingly. Next, we're moving to what is probably one of the most sophisticated part of a puppet, which is the mouth lip sync. But don't worry, I'm gonna break that down for you all right now. So when you open the mouth group, you're gonna notice that it has several layers. So what these are just simply different mouth sets, and they're representing different types of shapes when you pronounce different words. So what happens is that when you pronounce a word like ah and you have a mouth shape, the software is automatically going to detect that and it's going to switch to that ah shape. You might notice that some of them have something that looks like a 1 and a 2, and that simply just tells the software that this mouth shape is an animated sequence. So instead of it just switching to the frame of an ah, it's going to switch to its and animate it a 1 and then goes to 2, so like ah, to give it a more fluid kind of animation. And like I said in the beginning of the video, if you actually want to use your own mouth to replace that with these mouth shapes, you would have to take pictures with all these different mouth shapes, apply the cartoon action that I gave you to them, and then cut them out and place them in here. I already showed you all that you need to do that. Because of how long that's going to take, we're actually not going to cover that in this tutorial. Instead, we're going to use the default mouth set that comes with this for the character. I tried it out and it looks actually pretty good. The only one we're going to replace is the neutral mouth position, which is just a line which doesn't look too realistic for a human being. So if you're looking for a more human-like mouth set, better than the one that you have here, I'm going to be putting down in the description a link to download the one that I used in my original character. You're free to use that in whatever project you want to use. You don't have to pay for that. The only thing I ask back in return is that you hit that like button, share the link to this video on your social media, and subscribe to this channel. That helps me grow the channel and it helps me continue to create content like the one you're watching right now. So thank you for that. Other than that, you're free to use it as you will. But let's go ahead and let me show you how to actually replace some of the mouthpiece. We're going to do the neutral one. So let's go ahead. So this time around, I'm going to be using the lasso tool because the object select tool cannot really select the lips properly. With the face layer selected, just go ahead and draw around your mouth, and you want to cut that out with Ctrl X. So once you do that, go ahead to the layer that says neutral and paste that in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to rename that layer to neutral, and it's important to rename it exactly like this, and then delete the old one. So I want you to go ahead and click on the entire mouth group, then press Ctrl or Command T on your keyboard to enable the scale tool. And then we're just going to click and drag around the edges just to scale it and make sure it fits properly with the new puppet. So once that is done, I'll just move back my neutral mouthpiece to also align with the rest of them. Alright, so I'm going to save this and head back to Character Animate. So now as I'm moving my lips, you can see the lips are moving properly and this looks pretty good. So we're just going to do one more thing and then we'll be done with the face. So we're going to go ahead and add the blinking to this. To do this, what you want to do is go back to that picture that I asked you to take with your eyes closed, and then you're just going to apply back the pop action to it. Once you've done that, we're going to be using our object select tool to select around the eyes. And so once you do that, you want to go now to your puppet and locate your right eyes. You're going to see a layer that says on the right eye that says blink. So we're just going to paste that in there and we can delete the old one. And we're going to repeat the same process for our left eye. and paste that in there. So once we're done with this, save it. And now if you go back to Character Animate and try to blink your eyes, you should see it now blinking properly. That's quite easy. And with this, we are done with the face of our character. Congratulations, 80% of the work is already done. So now we just need to add the arms and the body to the character and rig that. So that shouldn't take very long. So I'm gonna get right to that and show you how to do that. So the first thing I'm gonna do is to resize my canvas so it can fit the bigger body that we're gonna be putting in. And to do that, you go to Image, Canvas Size. I'll set it to something like maybe 4000 by 300. This should fit my new image size that I have. All right, that looks good. So then I'll go back to our original image, the one where we took the head from, and using the lasso tool, I'll just cut slightly around the arm and then move it to about where the wrist is. And then I'm gonna cut that out. And then using Ctrl X from the keyboard, I can cut this out from here and then move back to our puppet. So on the body group, you're gonna see where it says right arm. So right here, I'm gonna paste this new arm right here. And then I'll adjust it slightly to about where I think it should fit. And then I'm gonna rename it to right arm. And then delete the rest that says replace. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing for our left arm also, and put it in our puppet. All right, so I'm gonna go back and also cut out the rest of the body piece. And then when we go back to our puppet, you're gonna see where it says tassel. So let me go ahead and just hide some of these layers, and actually also take out the pants because we're not gonna be using pants for this particular puppet today. So I'm gonna paste it right there, and then I'll adjust the location to fit right into the neck. So let me just adjust it slightly. Okay, that looks about good. Then next, I'm gonna adjust my arms so that they now fit the new body location. All right, that looks okay. So let's do the left arm also. All right, looking good. Okay, so next I'm gonna use the same lasso tool to cut out our right hand, sorry. And then when I go to the right arm, when you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see where it says hand, and then it says default. So I'm gonna just paste this new hand right in here, and then just adjust its position to fit properly with the puppet. And then we're gonna go ahead and just delete the previous one. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing also for the left arm, the left hand. Okay, so we have that fit properly, and then we're just gonna go ahead and delete that. So once you save that and go back to Character Animate, that should be loaded now properly. So the first thing I want to do is just scale the image to fit within the scene. So, and if you do to the right here, you use the scale, and then I'll probably also change the position, the Y position, to go to the bottom because we don't have pants for this character. So now that that is done, if I move the hands with the mouse, it moves a little bit. It's a little bit disjointed right now, but we'll fix that. And also you notice when I move my head, also the entire body is moving. So let's fix that first. If I go to rig mode and then I click on the body group, you will notice that we have two fixed handles which were misaligned. So I'm just gonna put them back where they were supposed to be. You can consider this to be almost like weights that you're putting on the body to hold them down to the ground. All right, so let's go back to record mode and see what that looks like. So if I move my head now, okay, that looks better. All right, but there's still a few issues which we can fix. Let's start with the right arm. So the first thing I want to do is where we have this green line that says right arm, I want to drag that and put it right where the arm attached to the body. So when you see it's green, it means it is attached. So for the rest of the handles, I'm just going to delete them so I can show you what's going on here. So I'm going to add a handle first to identify the elbow. So I'll click that and put it right around where I think the elbow should be. All right, I think that's a good spot. So I'm going to tag it as an elbow. So when you see this tick tool right here, if you click on that, so it's tagged that to be the elbow. So I'm also going to tag my wrist, click another handle in there, and then tag it to be the wrist. And then I'm going to make this one draggable. So it means I can use this point to actually move the hands around if I click and drag it with my mouse. So let's see what that looks like on the record mode. So if I drag that, you see it now moves. It's completely disjointed and dislocated from the arm side, but we're going to fix that right now. So let me try to zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So right at the bottom, you will have what is called the stick tool. So I'm going to go ahead and add a bone to right where we have the arm connecting to the body. And then I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to make this bone fixed so that it stops moving out. Remember when I was moving the hand, it was getting disjointed from the body. So I'll make that fixed. And then I'm going to add 2 just regular bones so that our hand is less wiggly. Okay. All right. So let's go back to, actually while I'm here, I'm going to go to the body and then I'm going to move the shoulder and attach it to where it's supposed to be. So you see where a little green dot is? So that's where our shoulder is. So I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to do the left one too, since we're here already. So once we have that done, let's head out back to record mode. So our arm is much more better. It's no longer dislocating from the body and it's looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and repeat the exact same steps for the left arm. All right, so when we go to the record mode now, our left hand is also pretty good and looking good so far. And if you want to adjust some of the parameters as to how the elbow moves or the stretchiness, you can do that right here where it says arm IK. So you see if I reduce the elbow strength, the elbow would move less. So it will have less flexibility. So it's kind of a stiff elbow. That's that. And you could also move around the stretchiness. For example, if I increase it, I can get this kind of Fantastic Four kind of effect where the arm stretches to pull things, superhero arms. Yep. So that's something you can do if that's the effect you are going for. But our puppet is now fully completed. So the only thing we need to just do now is start recording using our camera, and I'll just show you a little demo of that. As you can see, I have everything already aimed on my camera, and now the puppet is moving to my head, my face, and I can be like, hello everybody, welcome to this video. Hope you all having a great time. We're going to be having a nice tutorial here today. So definitely there's a lot more you can also do, like creating triggers, and so that when you press maybe a button, the puppet switches positions and things like that. We're definitely going to cover some of these in another video, but now you fully have a puppet that looks like you, that you can control just using your face, your eyes, your mouth, and things like that, and using your mouse also. So go ahead and have fun with that. All right, but before we go, here's a little extra tip for those who might want to do a little extra. In case you want to use my mouth set, go down to the description and download that. So once you have that downloaded, you just want to double click to open it on Photoshop. So this is what it looks like. It comes with a bunch of different lip shapes, like a surprise shape, a smile, and then you have your eyes and the rest of the ooze, just a more human-like mouth shape. And how to add that to your character, you just simply want to click on the layer right here and Ctrl+C to copy it. All right, so what I'm going to do is now open my puppet and then expand the head group here. And then I'm just going to delete the old mouth shapes that we had. And then I'm going to do Ctrl+V to paste in this new mouth shape that I just downloaded. So I'm going to drag that back into the head. And then you just do Ctrl+T to resize that. All right, that fits now. And if you wanted to say change the color to match your skin tone, again, it's just the same thing that I've showed you. So for example, the natural shape, I'll click on that. I'll use the eye drop tool to click on my skin, and then just use the paint bucket tool to click in there. And there you go. You now have the lips in the shape of your skin tone, and you can do that for the rest of the mouth shape. And that's as simple as that gets. Okay, moving on to my second tip. If you wanted to do different hand positions like pointing or thumbs up and things like that, that's quite simple. Just open your body set. And once you have that open, you see that we did the default hand position, which is the one that just stays neutral. You can then see that you have flip and point, and you can have infinite amount of these groups as much as you want. So what I'm going to simply do is that I'm going to replace where we have flip. I already have a flipped hand. So I'm going to copy that and just paste that in here and then align that. So I now have a flipped hand. So I'm going to save this and let's move over to Character Animate to see the changes that we just did now. Okay, so now I'm back to Character Animate. As you can see, our new mouth set has taken place and the lips have changed. And then also, if you look to your triggers here, you see that they've created with the blank puppet a few triggers. So for example, if I press 1, it switches to that flip hand. So if I did something like this, so you see that's instead of the hand looking backwards, the hand is now flipped properly. I'm pledging my allegiance to something, whatever that is. And if I press 3, that also replaces the other arm right here. And I'm rubbing my stomach, you know, because I'm hungry. And you can see a few triggers that they have here. You could just change the artwork and that generates the triggers. In later videos, I'm going to show you how to create your own custom triggers. All right, there you go. You now have your very own puppet, which you can now control just using your head and your voice and your facial expressions. If you want to learn more on how to do that, check out my other video right here to the left where I explain fully how to do that. And if you have any questions for me, let me know down in the comments, or you could follow me on Instagram. The link to that is in the description of this video. Send me a DM. I'll try my best to answer those as time permits me. If you like any of my content or like what you've seen so far, don't forget to subscribe. That way you get notified when I release new videos. I'll be creating more videos on this topic and even more topics. So see you in the next video. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.